She thought she was protecting the bank until the truth was revealed. It was an ordinary afternoon at Fairview Bank and Trust, at least. That's how it started. The scent of freshly brewed coffee lingered in the air, blending with the hum of printers and the quiet chatter of employees. Tellers moved behind the counter, greeting customers with routine smiles, their words rehearsed from years of repetition. Then the door swung open. A man walked in, unlike the usual clientele. No tailored suit, no polished shoes, no leather briefcase. Just a black man in his late 40s, dressed in a plain hoodie, jeans, and a pair of clean but well-worn sneakers. His steps were calm, confident. He scanned the room briefly, then took a seat in the waiting area, pulling out his phone to scroll through emails. No one spoke to him. A few glanced his way, then returned to their business. He wasn't causing a scene. He wasn't acting suspicious. He was just waiting. Behind the counter, Linda Pearson, the branch manager, barely noticed him at first. She was reviewing loan applications, flipping through stacks of financial statements and credit reports. But then, something made her look up. He was still there. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Other customers came and went, yet he remained. No checkbook, no deposit slip, just sitting. Linda frowned, gripping her pen tighter. Something about the way he sat so relaxed, so at ease, made her uneasy. She turned to Greg, a young teller beside her. "Do you know him?" she asked. Greg glanced up, then shook his head. "No idea. Maybe he's waiting for someone." Linda's gaze stayed locked on the man. Maybe. But something in her gut told her otherwise. The bank had its usual crowd: retirees depositing pension checks, business owners handling large transactions, middle-class families setting up accounts. A man like him, dressed like that, sitting there without speaking to anyone, it wasn't something she often saw in this part of town. He leaned back, tapped his phone, then checked his watch. The movement was casual, but to Linda, it felt calculated. Her pulse quickened. She had worked in banking for over 20 years. She knew the signs. She turned to Greg. "Keep an eye on him. If he doesn't move in the next 5 minutes, let me know." Greg hesitated. "You think he's—" "I don't know yet." 3 more minutes passed. That was it. Linda reached for her phone. "Yes, this is Linda Pearson at Fairview Bank. We have a suspicious individual in our lobby. He's been here for over 15 minutes without approaching the counter. Can you send someone to check it out?" The operator asked for details. Linda lowered her voice as she described the man. Across the lobby, he glanced up. His eyes met hers for the briefest moment, then he returned to his phone. Linda exhaled. Her heart pounded in her chest. She had done the right thing, or so she thought. The mistake that changed everything. Minutes later, flashing blue and red lights illuminated the glass doors. 2 uniformed officers entered, one older, broad-shouldered and white, the other younger, black, barely out of the academy. A ripple of unease spread through the bank. Conversations quieted. A man at the ATM stole a quick glance, then looked away. Linda waved the officers over. "I called about a suspicious person," she said, subtly gesturing toward the waiting area. "He's been here a while, hasn't approached the counter. Just sitting there on his phone." The younger officer frowned slightly. "That's it." Linda hesitated, then nodded. "I just want to be cautious." The older officer gave a curt nod. "We'll talk to him." They approached the man. He looked up, his expression calm, but there was something in his eyes. Something tired, like he had seen this before. "Sir, can we talk to you for a second?" the older officer asked. The man blinked, then put his phone away. "What's this about?" "We got a call," the officer said evenly. "You've been here for a while. Mind showing us some ID?" The man exhaled, slow, measured. "What am I being accused of?" His voice was steady, but there was an edge to it now. "Nothing, sir," the younger officer said quickly. "Just a routine check." The man's gaze flicked to Linda for a brief moment before he reached into his pocket, slow, deliberate. He pulled out a leather wallet, flipped it open, and handed over a driver's license. The older officer studied it, his brows pulled together. The younger officer leaned in for a look. His eyes widened slightly. The silence stretched a beat too long. Linda's stomach twisted. The older officer cleared his throat and returned the ID, his posture shifting stiff, awkward. "Mr. Taylor," he said carefully, "you own this bank." The room went still. Greg stopped typing. The older couple at the counter turned their heads. Even the security guard near the entrance straightened. The man, Mr. Taylor, leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. "That's right." The older officer glanced at Linda, jaw tight. The younger officer spoke first. "Sir, we apologize for the misunderstanding." Taylor cut him off with a small shake of his head. "No need to explain." His voice was calm but sharp. Then he turned his gaze on Linda. A muscle in her throat tightened. For the first time, she realized she had called the cops on her own boss. The weight of the mistake settled over the bank. Conversations resumed, but the atmosphere had shifted. Linda's hands trembled. Her usual authority, her confidence, it was gone. An older black woman stepped up to her window. Her eyes held something: deep disappointment, sadness, recognition. Linda forced a smile. "Good afternoon. How can I help you?" The woman slid a deposit slip across the counter. Her voice was soft but firm. "You should be ashamed." Linda's breath hitched. The whispers had already started. Customers, employees, everyone knew. And then, as if fate wanted to drive the lesson home, the glass doors opened again. Amanda Rivers, a regional executive, walked in, sharp, no nonsense, the kind of woman who could fire you with a smile and have you thanking her on the way out. She scanned the room. "Where's Mr. Taylor?" Greg straightened. "In his office, ma'am." Amanda nodded and walked past the counter without so much as a glance at Linda. Linda's stomach twisted into a knot. This wasn't going to blow over. She knocked on Mr. Taylor's office door. "Come in." He was waiting. "I wanted to apologize," she said. He exhaled slowly. "For what?" She hesitated. "For the misunderstanding earlier." He shook his head. "You keep calling it a misunderstanding." Linda's stomach dropped. "You didn't ask me if I needed help," he continued. "You didn't treat me like any other customer. You went straight to the police." Silence. Finally, he leaned forward. "Tell me, Linda, at what point did I become a problem?" And for the first time, she had no answer. If this story made you think, don't forget to subscribe to Unfolded Tales Explained and press the bell icon for more eye-opening stories.